South Africa to junk status by rating agency Standard & Poor's. This after the rating agency held an emergency meeting at the weekend, and President Jacob Zuma reshuffled his cabinet on Thursday night, axing Finance Minister Pravin Gordhan and his deputy Mcebisi Jonas. And the agency said the dismissal of Gordhan heralded a damaging policy shift. Now, to discuss the politics around ratings agencies, we are joined from our Seapoint studios by Dr. Mundia Kabinga, a senior research fellow and lecturer at the Cape Town University's Development Finance Center. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you very much for having me, Colin. I deeply appreciate it.
All right, when we take a comprehensive look at this reshuffling and downgrade scenario, does the axing of the cabinet minister mean a policy change, as alluded to by Standard & Poor's? And are they really hiding behind that they are pushing a certain agenda, call it political or economic, on behalf of the elite?
I beg to differ. I don't think so. My thinking is that the ratings agencies basically would consider the international financial markets and the kind of effects that might have on them. So the expectation actually is that you would actually have a finance minister who's well known in international finance markets, and I think Pravin Gordhan was that man. He had served as finance minister before, so he is somebody that was very familiar and well known in the international financial markets. And the same applies to Minister Nene, whereas when we see the new minister, basically he has limited experience in the international finance markets, and that in itself is a cause for concern. So will he be able to protect or to understand the implications or the broader implications of a ratings downgrade on the international markets?
But the argument then is around individuals, and most of the time we get statements from the ANC that they wouldn't like to see this thing of personality cults. So why should it be about Nhlanhla or Pravin Gordhan and what happens when they go, whereas there hasn't been any announcement of any policy change? We still have the 9-point plan, and we have the radical economic transformation. So what does it have to do with them?
So the international markets basically also have some level of credibility. So the individual that basically acts as finance minister has some individual credibility, which extends to the country itself. So if you're a seasoned hand, the expectation is that you would be able to allay the fears of the market. So in instances whereby you do not have a seasoned hand to basically allay market fears, you already see it translate into a depreciation of your currency. So we see that the rand actually lost 3% yesterday as a result of the ratings downgrade. And then we expect it to depreciate slightly further today by another 5%. As the American markets basically wake up to the ratings downgrade. So what you would need actually is somebody who can reassure that, who has some credibility in the international financial market, somebody that is known by the international financial markets, and that they would be committed to maintaining the policy directives.
Yeah, but let me come in there. If you're going to talk about the credibility of a finance minister, why wouldn't you then in the same token talk about the credibility of a ratings agency itself? If maybe one of them is then has been judged of having committed fraud or colluded and came up with some ratings that were cooked and had to pay a fine. Credibility also comes into place there. So what's good for the goose is good for the gander.
Absolutely. There have been concerns about the credit rating agencies and their inability to provide the appropriate justifications for the ratings that they had given to the Lehman Brothers, for instance, and all the American companies that were given a AAA rating, when in actual fact their credit ratings were supposed to be slightly lower. So they have paid the penalties. And as a result of that, after the 2008 financial crisis, they have been extremely diligent in terms of the ratings that they actually provide thereafter. So it isn't. I think the point worth underscoring is the fact that they're extremely concerned about the credibility of the ratings that they provide currently.
Now, what about
that has been one of the shifts that has happened after 2008.
Now, what about the standards that are used by ratings agencies? You've got different types of countries here. We're talking about developed countries and emerging economies like South Africa. Why use the same standards? Wouldn't you say that perhaps it's a scenario like using PhDs or maybe professors to grade grade 10 students?
Okay. What happens with the Standard & Poor ratings is that, the ratings agencies' criteria, it's something that has been ongoing for the last 100, 200 years. So it's a standard procedure around, this is how you basically assign credit ratings. And the argument about different countries requiring different credit ratings, I think that is reflected in the various investment gradings that are actually assigned to different countries. And you could actually see that what we have been allocated currently is a sub-investment grade rating. And what that basically means is the slightly more, the American pension funds, for instance, and hedge funds will not be willing to be, given their mandate that they need to invest in investment grade products, will not be investing in South African securities from this point onwards. So I think my assessment is just that each and every country status is actually well compensated for and accounted for in the ratings schedule.
Yeah, now what about the call for BRICS member states who have in the past proposed that they must have their own ratings agencies? Don't you think they are justified?
I think it would actually be a welcome initiative to basically have a BRICS ratings agency. But the practicality of actually implementing it is still several years away. So firstly, on one hand, there have been couples of ratings agencies that have been developed or that have been established since 2010. But by the time they actually come on stream, it takes several years. So for instance, I think there's the Lisbon RCA credit agency that has basically was set up. And since 2013, it still hasn't issued its first sovereign rating.
Well, Dr. Mundia, let's just wrap it up, just on a parting shot.
Okay.
Do you think that emerging economies should and must have their own ratings agencies?
Yes, if the objective is actually to attract financing from other BRICS economies, I would strongly suggest that yes, you would need your own separate credit rating agency. But the challenge is if you would like to source financing from Europe and the United States of America, that would be quite a challenge because the BRICS ratings agency is not one that has been registered with the American Securities and Exchange Commission as well as the European regulators, and consequently it will be still very difficult to attract financing from American institutions as well as European
you can source them from the
and
BRICS.
That is the money that we need.
You can source them from BRICS then.
So if what that basically means is that we, for instance, if they put out their money currently in the South African economy or the South African investments, we will lose 40% of our bond issues. And which is quite significant because somebody needs to take on that component. And if the financial institutions basically do take on that component, that's your local pension houses and your local institutional investors, what that means is that you have a credit squeeze, which would translate into increased interest rates, and which will have negative impacts on your loan capacity, your ability to issue loans, personal loans at an individual level. Also at a firm level, you basically would see productivity declining because of inadequate investment. And then also at a government level, what you basically will see is that we'll be paying more in interest charges, and consequently we will not have available resources to carry out social sector programs. All
right, thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. Mundia Kabinga, a senior research fellow at the Cape Town University Development Finance, talking to us right here on News Today. We take a break and we'll be back with the headlines. Stay with us.
I came there and then wanted to sing with them, and then they said, no, you are too young to sing with us. Then I got angry that day. That's when the Dr. Malinga was born. I don't want to say poor because of now we're not poor. That means God wanted to give us whatever He gave me today. Till I was featured by DJ Choice on the song called Casanova. Signed with Kalawa Jasmine via Orlando. Many songs. Then Dr. Malinga this, Dr. Malinga that. Then I was in.
For more inspiring stories, stay tuned to Bupilong every Friday.